Welcome to the Green Hour here on FM91. A reminder that previous episodes of the Green Hour are up right now on the FM91 YouTube channel. So make sure that you've subscribed to the YouTube channel that is FM91. Here today on the Green Hour, we talk greener and cleaner energy future. Joining us, a very special guest. She's a seasoned professional with over 25 years of experience across both financial services industry. Before joining K Electric, she has served as the Managing Director of X Petroleum, CEO of KSB Funds, and Chief Financial Officer of the Engro Corp at a time when the company saw a series of restructuring and IPOs of subsidiaries, as well as growth through two landmark projects of LNG terminal and Tharkol and Power. She has also served on the boards of several organizations, including Shell Pakistan, Pakistan Stock Exchange, 4G Fertilizer Bin Qasim, and UBL Fund Managers. She is also a board member of K Electric Venture Capital Limited, a newly established KE subsidiary for diversification initiatives. With that, joining us this morning, Chief Strategy Officer at K Electric, Naz Khan. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Ooh, got to that one. That was, mashallah, that's quite an experience that spans over more than 2 decades. I'm glad that you're here with us. You know, I'm a huge believer in momentum, and it feels like, and especially since we started the Green Hour, that there is momentum when it comes to renewable energy sources. There is by that I mean a lot of discussion around renewable energy, a lot of discussion around going green. Do you believe that there is that momentum, or is it just something that I'm maybe gauging? Do you feel like there's a lot of talk around this now?
So first of all, Khalid, thank you for having me on the show. Wonderful to be here. And you can see that the momentum's there because it starts right from here. I thought it was a green show, so I turned up in green. And so I think the momentum has started picking up a lot more now.
Yeah.
It was not there previously. The West has had it for quite some while. लेकिन पाकिस्तान में इतना नहीं रहा है अभी तक, लेकिन अब बहुत बिल्डअप होने लग गया है. And you will see, we just had a renewable conference last week as well. You will start seeing a lot more of this. And I think it's also coming from the fact that, other than the fact that it's clean, it's green energy, there's a responsible element to it. You're seeing the impacts of it in terms of now climate change that Pakistan is experiencing itself.
Yeah.
So I think it's hitting close to home. So I think the momentum will continue to build.
And what are some of the innovative ways that K is exploring, some of these, exploring the momentum that is, and sources of renewable power and so on?
So, for a company like KE, which is a very traditional utility, right? This is a utility, and I mean, I don't know how many people know, but KE was formed in 1913, so it's a pre-partition company. तो 100 साल से ज़्यादा पुरानी कंपनी है. And so typically they कहते हैं कि utilities are very slow to move. लेकिन last year we set up a company called K Solar, which was meant to operate in the distributed generation space. और ये वो वाली space, I mean, हम तो बिजली बेचते हैं, हमारे लिए तो बहुत अच्छा है, fast rent out increases. But what you could see was कि energy की कीमतें बढ़ती चली जा रही हैं, बिजली की कीमतें, and how do you bring these prices down? So people started, and in the last 10 years, you've seen कि solar panel की prices एकदम से had started coming down significantly. So with that, it became a very strong business case where people started putting solar panels on their rooftop, which is, so we thought that that's an area that we should definitely be focusing on as well. So we set up that company, and we are actually in the distributed generation space. So that area has picked up a lot. And if I was to give you some numbers on that count, आपको पता है, the entire country today in terms of solar that it has, which is selling back to the government, is about 600 megawatts of solar plants that we have installed, selling back to the government. But just this net metering, which is आप बिजली rooftop पे बनाते हैं, and you can even sell back to the grid. This, in these last few years, today it stands at almost 550 megawatts. This is people with under 1 megawatt, right? किसी ने 10 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, 22 kilowatt का system लगाया हुआ है. So this is huge. That means the adoption is just huge because people feel that this is one way that we can at least control बिजली की कीमतें for ourselves.
Yeah. And there's also, I think the onus is on the individual too, is that how do I adjust my usage of electricity at home?
That's right.
You know?
That's right. So it's a little bit about being sort of masters of your own destiny. कि चलो जब भी कीमतें नीचे आएंगी वो तो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है. लेकिन at least this is one way that I can control, my price. That I can put this in, which generates from solar. It's indigenous. It's clean, and it costs me much less. So I can bring down my weighted average cost of my bill.
So I do want to go down the solar path just a little bit, and some of the other innovative sort of initiatives that K is carrying out right now, because there's so much discussion around solar, and everyone's screaming out, I want solar, but how is K Electric helping? Well, the consumer also. I want to get into that, but can you, before we step further, can you sort of maybe give us some sort of practicalities around how we could possibly adjust our own electricity usage at home given the current situation right now?
Sure, and I'll come back to the initiatives later also that you pointed out, because that's not the end of it.
No. Okay.
But in terms of, I think you bring up an extremely important point, because what you're talking about is actually energy conservation, and I think what we have today in the country is almost like an energy emergency, given that the prices of electricity have gone up a lot with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It's not in your control, and remember that we import a lot of our energy, so you have that impact as well. So what can you do at home? There's some very simple things. Appliances. Make sure that all your appliances are energy efficient appliances. Look at inverter technology. Unplug appliances when you're not using them. Be mindful of the fact that there is a peak hour concept. Summers, I think it's from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. where the charge is significantly higher. It's about 40% higher. So don't don't iron your clothes at that time, for example. Try to do that in non-peak hours. So be mindful of the units that you are consuming, because a lot of people come to me and they say that our bills have increased. People don't realize some of the appliances that they use. For example, UPS. A lot of people, use UPSs which are not energy efficient.
Same.
Many people will come to me. They will say, we bought this fridge. It's a second-hand fridge, and suddenly you'll find your units are increasing because many of these older appliances actually consume significantly higher electricity. So you'll find your units increasing. So be very mindful of such things.
I like the peak. What did you call it? We gave it a term. Peak. What is it called?
It's a peak hours.
Peak hours.
Right.
So we're speaking to Naz Khan this morning, Chief Strategy Officer, K Electric. We're going to head to a break. Be back with more. Welcome back to the Green Hour here on YouTube and on air. A reminder that previous episodes of the Green Hour up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to FM91 on YouTube. Joining us this episode, we've got Naz Khan, Chief Strategy Officer, K Electric. Just before the break, we were talking about that we're all experiencing these price hikes, and one of the contributing factors is the conflict abroad and how we import a lot of our energy. So one would think, well, let's not import this energy and let's just use our own. Wouldn't you say?
I mean,
why
that's an
not?
excellent point. Absolutely, that's exactly what we should do, and that's exactly where we are headed as a country. But you can't just switch it off today, because if a significant portion of your energy is imported and you're generating power out of it, अगर आज आपने वो बंद कर दिया, so then you will not have adequate power. So today you need to import that, but you make a plan that within X number of years, and that's what it's going to be. We have committed that by 2030, as a country, we will have 60% of our power from renewable resources. Or renewable जो है वो सारे renewable are indigenous, right? Whether it's from solar or from wind or from hydel, these are all indigenous. You don't need to spend dollars on it. So the plan is actually already in place by the government to transition towards that side.
when and we've had K Electric on the show before, and something that's come through as I speak to K Electric is this, what's the word, this mindfulness of how things are and where things should be heading. That certainly comes across. So tell us more about the initiatives that K Electric is working on right now.
So, I think, so first is, as the government is also moving, KE also today is looking to increase its footprint on the renewable side and on the green side. So how are we going green? The first thing that we are doing is, because it impacts your bijli ki qeemat, is that we are installing, by 2030, we are intending to put up about 1200 megawatts of renewable power, which is solar, wind, and hydel. So by 2030. So in another, let's say, 7 to 8 years. So what that will mean is that today our footprint, X what we take from NTDC, we will almost increase that by 10 times. That percentage of renewable and indigenous resources, 10 times वो percent आपकी increase होगी. The other thing we're doing is our entire infrastructure ourselves. So our grids, our customer care centers, wherever possible. So we will be doing that. So up till about 8 to 10 megawatts just ourselves and our buildings and our infrastructure. So that's another thing that we are doing. The third thing is, we launched an innovation challenge. It was called 711 Plus, because the idea was that within this space, you want to collaborate, because these are problems that everyone has. You need collaborative solutions. So 711 Plus means these are linked to Sustainable Development Goals. Number 7, number 11. 7 relates to clean energy and access to energy. And we told people, researchers, academics, startups, that if you have any solutions that you would like to present, we are ultimate users. Please present them, and we will shortlist, and whatever we can pilot and we think we can use, we will do that.
Is there something that's in?
So it's ongoing right now. In fact, we had over 300 entries. We long listed to about 70 or 80. Then we shortlisted to, we have the last 14 now. And we are looking to then shortlist 3 from here eventually.
Can you give us a little insight as to some of the initiatives that have sort of come through, or some of the ideas that have come through that you
they're all actually, and a lot of them work towards. Some of them relate to us working in the city. Some of them relate to us improving our ability to serve the customer. So there are some very exciting. Let me not say more, but they're very exciting. So for us, the success will be if we can actually adopt them and embed them within our system.
Now, there's something very technical: grid scale renewable opportunities. Can you explain what that is?
So grid scale means, typically grid scale or utility scale is what, let's say, a K Electric will set up, right? Which can be 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts, 500 megawatts, versus, let's say, you and I will set up, which will mean on our rooftops that we put a 5 kilowatt, so which is under, let's say, 1 megawatt, right? Which is still not considered a grid scale, or even under 10 megawatts is generally you don't consider grid scale. So these are the smaller ones that we can put up on our rooftop, and we generate power from there ourselves.
And so when you talk of individual renewable opportunities, these are the ones the solar panels that we've installed on the rooftops and so on, right?
Yes.
I want to, since we're on that, there's nearly every other day you'll hear of something or other in the media, in social media, that relates to solar, and that we should be going solar, and that K Electric is also exploring solar, and that the government is approving certain funds for solar power and solar energy. And as individuals and as consumers, there's almost now a knowing that says, I need solar, but when you, as a consumer, as you go out to install solar, you realize, wow, that is a bit of capital outlay. At my end.
Right.
And I'd love for you, because we did speak about this just off air, and I'd like for you to bring it on air, that K Electric is also working on helping consumers acquire solar power.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Khalid, because not everyone can dish the capital that's required. It's just like you will get from your credit, from your bank, where they'll say that if you need to purchase an LCD screen or something, you can finance it. So
Yeah.
we're looking at something like this where we can, even to the residential side, where we will help finance it. We will put in the capital investment and help finance it, and do like a sort of a power agreement with you. So for the residential side, so the capital outlay is not yours, and there's an inbuilt financing cost.
Yeah, just to reap, so what Naz is saying is that if you want solar panels on the rooftop and don't want to lay out the capital, K Electric will come along and say, we'll do it for you.
So we're working on something like that.
This is the Green Hour. Joining us this episode of the Green Hour, we've got Chief Strategy Officer K Electric Naz Khan joining us. Naz, there's this word indigenous that you've brought up a couple of times now. Can you explain to us indigenous ka matlab kya hai? So what do you mean by indigenous? Let's just go there first.
So indigenous generally means के homegrown है, आपके यहाँ पे ही जो चीज़ यहीं पे available है आपके पास, ठीक है. So अब अगर in the context of energy, for example, जो आपके पास यहाँ पे available है, जो जिसके लिए आपको डॉलर खर्च नहीं करना पड़ेगा और जिसके लिए आपको बाहर से नहीं करना पड़ेगा. You have solar, you have wind, you have hydro है आपके पास. The other one which is not green but is thermal, which is a very large, you have the 6th or 7th largest lignite deposits in the world that are sitting over here. And this is by the, so what you should be doing is, and that's what the plan should be, is really to move towards renewable and to move towards indigenous. Because आपके दो उससे मसले हल हो जाते हैं. एक तो आपके पास आपको डॉलर स्पेंड नहीं करना पड़ता है. बिकॉज यहाँ मैं थोड़ा सा आपको एक बता दूँ. अभी मैं यूरोप की प्राइसेस देख रही थी. सो व्हेन आई लुक्ड एट देम दिस मे वर्सेस लास्ट May 21, and if I look at the price of electricity in cents per kilowatt hour, the prices of electricity in the UK have doubled in terms of cents per kilowatt hour. In Austria, in Italy, several European countries. But when I looked at the dollar price, for Pakistan, it had gone up by about 14 to 15%. But when I looked at that same price in rupee terms, it had gone up by almost 50%.
Right.
So that tells you that the energy component is adding some element, but the fact that the dollar component and the rupee dollar has moved so much is adding significantly to your energy bills as well. Which is why it's very important that you use resources that are available within your country. Right, so ये आपको थोड़ा सा एक फाइन लाइन चलना पड़ेगा कि आप renewable ऐड करें, आप afforestation करें, you do a lot of the green initiatives as well, but you will also have to reduce reliance on anything that is imported.
So I'm trying to get my head around this. So let's say, so I'm a consumer, and we just go consumer. We won't go retail, etc. But I ultimately I want electricity, right?
Yes.
And so what happens is, at the moment we import a lot of the energy.
Yes.
That import is affected by the dollar,
yes,
right? Because we have to buy in dollars, and that therefore has to be passed on to the consumer,
right,
in some way to sort of adjust for that dollar increase or whatever. And so we are moving towards green initiatives, and you mentioned solar it seems to be at number one. But to go solar, K Electric is also working on an initiative where we'll say, listen, you don't have to outlay any capital. We will do that for you. We'll come to some sort of energy agreement between the consumer and K Electric. So that's just one. So that's one part of the graph, yes, right? But the other part is, whilst that is being set up, are you following me? So I'm trying to go through this in my head like a flow chart. And so while that is being set up, as a consumer, I need my electricity, but I'm paying too much for it. Now we need to go indigenous, which means now we need to go to thermal, for example, use coal, which is not a green source of energy, but what it's doing is it's cutting down on our cost. So it's
lots going on.
Like, what is it? Lesser of the two evils? Like, what? How can we accelerate the green initiative then?
Right. So I think so. So first, like you said, when you talk about the consumer or the customer, one is controlling it at your end, which let's say you can control today. when you talk about controlling the green initiatives at the utility, and that takes a little bit of time. So over the next few years, you'll start putting up. So the next 2, 3, 4 years, you will start putting up the solar, and that will slowly start bringing down your cost at the grid level as well. Because remember, when you are taking electricity today, most people don't have 24-hour solutions. You will have your green initiative for the time that the sun provides you with power, and then after that, you still need to be on the grid. So the grid price also needs to come down. So that's something that we need to work on as KE, and as the government, the government entities need to bring down that cost. Then the third element that we are saying when we talk about this is green and this is indigenous, is you need to bring it down further. You need base load, because remember that renewables are intermittent. हवा हर वक्त नहीं चलती है, सूरज दिन में होता है, आपको उसकी बिजली तो so what about the rest of the time? So you also need some base load that can provide you bijli through the other parts of the day, and for that,
as like a backup kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, backup as in के अब बिजली चली गई. I mean, आपके मगरिब के टाइम तक थोड़ी तक आपकी आती रही. उसके बाद then what do you do after that? So you may have some wind. Wind is also, it's seasonal. So so while green is very good, there are also challenges with green, that it's intermittent in nature. It's not as predictable. So what about the rest of the times? Who's going to power up those engines that are going to continue to supply you when there's no wind and solar? So one good option for that is hydel, which is that the hydel, that keeps running through day and night, but that has seasons, right? So that runs through the summer, but through the winter, your hydel capacity diminishes, completely or significantly. So you still need other means to provide power. So for that, you have what is called base load. That how do you get that? So we are very fortunate as a country that we have one of the largest lignite reserves, or lignite is a form of coal, that you have those in the world. And Thar coal has already, the mine's been opened up, the power has started coming from there already, and I think by next June, the numbers that I'm seeing, you'll have close to 2,000 megawatts coming from there. And the way it's currently priced is that after renewables, it is the cheapest source of energy in terms of energy price. So that helps you bring down your cost. It helps you not pay dollars abroad. So you conserve your dollars. So you are not dependent on the dollar, and you're not dependent on what the prices are internationally. Today, you don't control energy prices. But if it's a source that you have here, you have the element that where you can also control, and there's predictability. So the way that Thar coal is today priced, you have predictability on the coal pricing, which if you were to import from abroad, you don't. I mean, it's, 1 minute it's at a peak, the next minute it's low. So you can't plan. And for a country like Pakistan, energy security is very important for economic security. I mean, at the end of the day, when you talk about sustainability, we have to talk about sustainability for ourselves. So I know while this is the green hour, I'm just saying that these are some of those, trade-offs that are very, very real, that we all have to consider as well. So then what is it that we do to offset the impact of that, right? So what else is it that we can do? Should we be looking at coal to liquids, coal gasification? Should we be looking at more afforestation, a lot more green initiatives to counter the impact? So these are some of those questions and the discussion and debate that we should be having.
And speaking of questions, if you do have any questions, you can WhatsApp 0315 111 9191. This is the Green Hour. Reminder that previous episodes of the Green Hour up on our FM91 YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Our guest this episode is Chief Strategy Officer Miss Naz Khan from K Electric. There's lots, I'd like to go to sort of little sort of grassroots kind of level and say कि भाई बिजली के जो बिल है, it's high. बिजली का इस्तेमाल नहीं किया जाता इतना, and now बिजली का बिल ही इतना है. If you could address that. And also you did mention a little earlier on, and I'd like for you to give us a little more about home financing, and that was specific to solar energy. So I'll throw that one at you. The two of them at you.
So Khalid, I mean, bijli ke bill, and let me tell you that we all of us pay those same bijli ke bill as well, right? And I have to say that I empathize with the people on that. I mean, we all do, because honestly, they really have gone up a lot. We don't set that price for electricity. I think that people need to understand. बिजली के बिल में taxes भी आते हैं, वो KE को नहीं जाते हैं. KE is not a government entity. Then बिजली के बिल में एक और the other thing that's there is that because you have access to so many people, everyone has electricity, so that's an easy way for people to collect, or for even the government to collect certain taxes or anything else. You saw a retailer tax was imposed, then it was taken back, but it's an easy way for people to collect because people have to pay their bijli.
Hence the hike in taxes.
So all those things add up, right? So obviously there's the energy prices themselves which have gone up. Then there are taxes. There's there are other. So if other things are added there, then all of that also adds to the bijli ka bill. But the main cause right now also is the high energy prices, and which is why we constantly say we have to start shifting towards indigenous and to renewable resources. So I really want to get that point across. We are not the ones setting that price, but we are at the receiving end from everyone. Our customer care centers have had violent mob attacks. The people that are sitting there to serve you and to fix those bills for you, and they also pay these same electricity bills. They also have the same challenges, and it doesn't help when you have people attacking, and our employees are traumatized right now there. But you're opening. We've extended our office hours. We are working on weekends just so that we can facilitate the customer, but it doesn't help when you have these attacks and then we are unable to serve you. So while we empathize, we would really request that please let us serve you better, because as the Prime Minister has also announced, and they've announced some relief on the fuel charge adjustment as well. We're in the process of adjusting those bills. So there's a lot of challenges. Those adjustments are
occurring in real time right now?
Those adjustments are happening now. First it was for people under 200 units, consumers under 200 units. Now it's for 200 to 300 units as well. So there's constant change. We're having to do it, at the back end through systems, manually. So there's a lot that we are dealing with at our end as well. And we're there to serve you and to serve you better. So please help us serve you better. So that's really on that. And that's why a lot of people have started themselves shifting to solar. Because you feel at least you can control. Right. There is a level of control, because otherwise आपके bill में तो आपका level of control नहीं है. And when you talk about financing on that side, like you said, because people are feeling the pinch, and people are feeling that I can't make that capital outlay to go and install a solar system. So we are working on something where we will try to finance this, and so that you can pay over a period of time.
And is that, can someone go today and do it? Is that?
No, it's not there. Like I said, we're just working on this, because this is something that now people are asking us for, and because we have a connect with so many people, we have 3 million households that we serve, which is the city of Karachi, 24 million people. So people are asking us for this. There's other elements here. If you pay over a 10-year period or a 12-year period, whether you have the ability to pay that or not. So those are assessments that we will have to do, but we are working on putting out something like that in terms of a product.
So the sort of the commonly asked question is, as we speak of renewable energy sources and we talk of momentum or a trending towards cleaner sources of energy, then the question then is, why is it taking so long? Why aren't we moving swiftly? Why aren't we moving more urgently?
I think there is a sense of urgency now more than anything else. So some of it also has to do with, because you're working in a regulatory environment, and you're, sometimes there are changes. So I think it and I don't want to get into the details, but doing the larger projects is not always that easy. It takes a little bit of time, but I think there's a very strong sense of urgency across. So inshallah, you will see us also working very, very urgently on this.
I want to give you sort of, we're at the tail end now, but what would you like to say, I guess in summary, because there is a lot of attention right now on energy and electricity specifically in the country. Giving you this opportunity to sort of, here's the mic and we're listening to you and wondering what's going on. And we've spoken about a lot today. We've covered a lot today in the Green Hour in this very short span of time. Really, if you sort of bullet point. But in summary, what would you like to say to everyone that's watching and listening?
Right. So I think in summary, what I'd like to say is that, it's, like we said, the focus for us needs to be renewable and indigenous, right? These are the two things. So, because at the end of the day, it is a sustainability of the country, it's our energy and economic security. So, we shift to those resources. I know in that I brought up Tharkol too, and I know maybe, you step on, toes of people. I know there are a lot of environmentalists out there as well, and rightly so, because we're seeing the impacts of that. But I just want to just put it out there that these are discussions that need to be had, right? So that you look at it, because you have to see what is right for you. So have those discussions, and then you can decide whichever way you want to go. But those are discussions that need to be tabled, and they're not easy discussions to have, but that's no reason to shy away from having those. That's one thing. So renewable, indigenous, so that our reliance on the dollar is less and less, and like I said, there's a sense of urgency there. To whatever extent you can control your own bills, which is how much you consume, energy efficiency, energy conservation, and adoption of, like we said, people have moved towards the solar side. We will hopefully look to coming in there and providing you with something as well.
Chief Strategy Officer, K Electric, Naz Khan, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on The Green Hour. A reminder that previous episodes are up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is FM91.